There we go. Good evening. Welcome to Music Monday. This evening we're here in the choir room in the parish house at St. Paul's, and we're going to talk a little bit about some hymns, and then we have a guest artist that I'll introduce you to, and you can enjoy his playing in a few minutes here. But anyway, so in thinking about what I was going to do this evening, I went to the handy dandy service manual. This is all the service music in Hymnal 1982 plus some, and it's for the accompaniment portion of it. And the fun thing about this is my head now chopped off. The fun thing about this is in the back of the service music accompaniment edition, they take the hymnal and they slice and dice it just about any way you can imagine. So there's like, the hymns are organized topically, they're organized by certain liturgical seasons of the year, and the scripture references that are indicated in whatever hymn it might happen to be. So what I did was I took a look and I looked up hymns that are about love. And as one could imagine, there are a number of them. Specifically, if one were to go and reference hymns about love, there are 8 that are just kind of solely designated that way. And then they cross-reference to another section called Christian Responsibility, Love and Service to Others. And that section has 18 hymns that are listed under that section. So I kind of combined the two areas and selected a few hymns that I thought we would kind of hopefully sing together. So if you've got your hymnal 1982 handy, now's the time to pull it out. The first one I want to talk about is number 700. Number 700. This one is, the tune is called Moseley. Many of these, again, are going to be, well, not all of them, but many of them are English composers as far as the hymn tunes are concerned. This one is O Love That Casts Out Fear. And the first verse goes, O love that casts out fear, O love that casts out sin. Tarry no more without, but come and dwell within. The second verse, true sunlight of the soul, surround us as we go. So shall our way be safe, our feet no straying know. The tune is this. Together with the harmony, it sounds like this. 682, number 682. I love thee, Lord, but not because I hope for heaven thereby, nor yet for fear that loving not I might forever die. This one, Henry John Gauntlet was the author of the tune, again English, and the text actually is Spanish, from a Spanish text that was translated, and it became this hymn. The tune of this goes... sounds like... No, it doesn't. Let me play that again. This next one, 649. This one is one of my favorites, as a matter of fact. The tune, certainly. It's used. This particular tune is used in two different, for two different hymns. It's the same tune in a different key. Is found on 650. But the interesting thing I find about this one is a couple things. First of all, it's written, the melody, it's called Dickinson College, as in the college in New Jersey. And it was composed by Lee Hastings Bristol Jr. And for anyone who kind of knows these kind of things, pharmaceutical company, Bristol Myers Squibb, it used to be called. I don't know for sure if it's still Bristol Myers Squibb. Anyway, he, Lee Hastings Bristol, was the grandson of the Mr. Bristol of Bristol Myers Squibb. So he basically, from a well-to-do family, and he worked there in Bristol Myers for a number of years, and was legitimately a very successful businessman. But because he didn't really need to worry so much about income per se, he also very much took his interest and talent in music and composing, and particularly in a liturgical sense, studied the organ, was a very good organist, and wrote a number of hymns, tunes, as well as arranging a lot of different pieces for the organ, as well as composing some of his own. He died in 1979, but he was a mainstay within, certainly, in Episcopal music circles. Now, the other thing I really find interesting about this one is that for those of you who, again, are referencing a hymnal, there isn't any time signature, and many hymns don't include a time signature. In fact, most don't, because in essence, the melody follows the text, and so at some points a time signature is irrelevant. However, if one were to add a time signature to this hymn, it would be in 5/4, which means that there are 5 beats to the measure. And that's what I really like about this hymn, because I like 5/4 time. It's just quirky enough to really make it interesting. So, and what this means in this particular hymn, it's got a very much a 2+3 beat. So it's bum 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 bum. And so the tune, and you'll hear that as I play this. So the tune for this hymn is. So if you're counting, it would be 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So it just has a nice look to it, obviously, and altogether it sounds like. Jesus, joy of loving hearts, the fount of life and our true light. We seek the peace your love imparts, and stand rejoicing in your sight. So the text of this is actually from the 11th century, is that right? Or is it the 9th century? I always have to think about this. Bernard of Clairvaux would be undoubtedly probably a monk, a brother, of some order. I don't know particularly which one. It was translated in the mid-19th century. The first verse goes like this. Oh, Jesus, joy of loving hearts, the fount of life and our true light, we seek the peace your love imparts, and stand rejoicing in your sight. The third verse. Jefferson College is the tune. Lee Hastings, Bristol. Someone to kind of keep in mind as you're looking at hymns. Okay. So this next one is 577. 577. And this one is interesting. Again, it's about love. And this one is interesting because the composer of the tune is an A. Gregory Murray. He lived from 1905 to 1992. He was a Benedictine monk or brother at an abbey in England. Was a child prodigy, sang in the choir as a boy at Westminster Cathedral, which is, for those of you who don't know, Westminster Cathedral is the Catholic church there in London, probably the largest Catholic church, and it's, of the pop song, is it Beatles? Westminster Cathedral, I'm bringing you down. I can't remember who wrote that, but anyway, that's a reference to Westminster Cathedral versus Westminster Abbey, which is the Anglican Church of England next to the Parliament. Lots of people get married and all that kind of stuff. So that's Westminster Abbey. So anyway, Gregory Murray was in the boy choir there at Westminster Cathedral. Lived most of his life, and Downside Abbey, I think, is the abbey that where he lived. He was the organist and choir master there. Taught in school there. Was a prolific composer. He really did a lot of in the Catholic. I've never looked actually, but the Catholic hymnal, I'm sure, or Catholic music publications would have a lot of his things in it. He is represented in certainly in the Episcopal hymnal with this hymn 577, but he did a lot as far as bringing liturgical music, certainly into the 20th century, if you will. So anyway, that said, what he did was he took an ancient tune, a chant tune, Ubi Caritas, and he starts out his hymn with that, and then he composed his own part of it. So the part that is the ancient part is this, and you'll see it there. It's the refrain is listed in our hymnal of 577. It goes. So that's the ancient tune. Listen to it again. And the words go, God is love, and where true love is, God himself is there. And with the harmony, it sounds like. So then, Brother Murray wrote this. tune by Brother Murray. It's a nice one. I like it. This next one, before we get into our guest artist, real quick here, turn to 606, number 606, 606. Now this is basically, occasionally within our hymnal and the Episcopal hymnal, this is really a chant. It could be sung corporately as a congregation kind of thing, but most typically not, in most instances. So this is again another one where they took, it's actually a very old, it's another rendition of Ubi Caritas, the plain song. This is mode 6, and it goes like this. Maurice Duraflay wrote a very famous 4- or 5-part harmony anthem to this. It's gorgeous. But anyway, with this tune, listen to the tune again. And then a contemporary composer, David Hurd. Born in 1955. He's a very accomplished composer, organist at a parish in Manhattan. I really like his stuff. He's got a number of things in the Episcopal hymnal. He took that tune and then he added, the harmony is his. Not the tune, but the harmonies around it. So for example, the very beginning of this, the antiphon, it goes... So I'm just going to, and you'll listen to the harmonies as it goes along, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to sing this. Where true charity and love dwell, God himself is there, since the love of Christ has joined us in one body. Let us all rejoice just some of the hymns within the hymn of 1982 about love. Now, last week I get an email from the Nantucket Community Music Center, and they have received a call from someone whose son is studying organ and wanted to know if they could perhaps come and play, practice, and all this kind of stuff at St. Paul's. And of course, I said yes, and no question. And on Saturday, we got together and chit-chatted, and so I was introduced, had the pleasure of being introduced to Andrew, and I'm going to make sure I get your name. Camasano.
Andrew Byers. That's my mom's last name.
Well, there we go. Now I learned something. Byers?
Yeah, B-Y-E-R-S.
Well, that, nothing to say against Camasano. Byers is a lot easier. Andrew Byers. Okay, so anyway, Andrew, have a seat, Andrew. Andrew, came over again this afternoon. They called and asked if he could practice on the organ. And I knew from talking to Lisa's mother, she was saying how Andrew had studied at Interlochen, which is a summer music school, world-renowned. I wish I had gone there. And I'm from Indiana, so it was close. But anyway, this morning I'm thinking about this evening, I'm thinking, well, maybe Andrew would like to play something for us this evening. And so I contacted him, and he was up and game for it. So here we are. So Andrew, first of all, how old are you?
15.
15, okay. And you're going to be a sophomore where?
Newton North in Newton, Massachusetts.
Okay. And how long have you been playing piano?
10 years. About 10 years.
Okay, so okay, 5. Oh, that's good. Okay. And yeah, so and you're currently still studying piano?
Yes.
And also organ?
Yep.
Are you taking lessons weekly on organ, or is it like week or
bi-weekly.
bi-weekly? Okay, that's what I do. Okay, good. When did you start organ?
About a year ago.
Okay, so you were a freshman. Okay, all right, good. Okay, good. So anyway, why don't you tell the folks what it is you're gonna play?
So I'm playing Debussy's Reflection on the Water. It's an impressionistic piece. It's meant to show it's based off a painting, and it's about reflections on the water, and you hear how the right hand especially, you'll hear how it's really shimmery, and it shows the aspects of water during it.
Very good, exactly, and it's definitely Debussy. There would be absolutely no mistaking who the composer of this phenomenal piece is. So I'm just the page turner here, and it's a big job because if the whole show can stop, and I don't want that to happen, I might never turn the right page. So anyway, Andrew, go for it.
All right.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your talent with us this evening. You're welcome to practice anytime you want. And we're gonna convince Andrew to join us as he's coming with his family here on island, and we'll figure that part out. But you'll be hearing from Andrew again. So thank you all this evening for joining us, and have a blessed evening.